Good afternoon, and thank you for watching this video. It's been some time since I posted anything. I've been busy with the Resist45 app, among other things. And I really haven't had much to say about the events in Charlottesville, mostly because I feel like I haven't had anything unique to add to the conversation until today. I had a really interesting experience. I went out to buy a car, and the events of today drew a direct line from buying a car to Iraq to the events in Charlottesville. Now, you're probably thinking, these are worlds apart. What could they possibly have in common? So stick with me. This is kind of an interesting story. So I go to the car dealership, and I'm talking to the salesman. And it turns out he's from North Africa, from Morocco. And he and I are chatting a bit. And in walks this older, jovial gentleman who is from Argentina. And they kind of banter back and forth. It turns out they're friends because this guy from Argentina buys a lot of cars from this dealership. So after a few minutes, he goes away, and in walks this African-American woman. She's somebody that I had bought a car from several years earlier, and she had moved to the finance division, and she wanted to come in to say hello, and she did. And I left without buying a car, and I decided to think on it a bit, so I took myself to lunch, and I was in Coral Springs. And I didn't know of any vegan restaurants in Coral Springs, so I looked one up on Google, looked kind of interesting, and I went. So the guy behind the counter is enthusiastic in helping me in a way that was kind of unusual. And I couldn't tell from his accent if he was from India or from Pakistan. So I asked him, and it turns out he was from Bangladesh. And I asked him if this was his restaurant. It seemed like it had to be his restaurant. You know, he was just working too hard to make sure I was happy. So he told me it was his restaurant, and his brother came over, and we talked a bit, and that was that. So I went outside waiting to get served. And this guy walks up to me to hand me a gift certificate for a gym that he had just bought a few doors down. And it turns out this guy was from Venezuela. Real nice fella. We talked a bit. And it turned out that he and the restaurant owner from Bangladesh were working together to kind of cross-pollinate customers. And that was that. So on my drive home, this got me thinking about Iraq. And you wonder, what could these people possibly have to do with Iraq? Well, as Americans, we've been paying attention to Iraq since George Bush invaded in early 2001, 2002, whenever it was, last 15, 16 years. And no matter how much political might we seem to apply to this country, no matter how much democratic know-how or military might to deal with sectarian violence, it seems as though this country cannot get its act together. They just can't seem to get their political act together. And a big part of the problem is the Shiites, the Kurds, the Sunnis, and some of the smaller groups exercise political power to the exclusion of the other groups. So whenever one of the groups gets in power, they sort of, again, exercise political power, give political favors to those that are in their group. And so that foments a lot of distrust and a lot of friction in that country that makes it so that they can never move ahead, because they don't have a stable political process. Are you going to get a fair shake as a Sunni if a Shiite is in power and you need to go to court? Will the police protect you in a way that they would protect the other group? Probably not, or you certainly can't be sure. And I trace that back to what we have here in America. So whether you're a guy from Bangladesh who just came to the United States and opened up a restaurant, or you're from Argentina buying cars, or you're from Venezuela and just bought a gym, you're going to get the same police protection from the police. And if you have a grievance and you go to court, you can expect to get independent judicial review, regardless of your race, nationality, sex, religion. You know, the system's not perfect, we know it, but by and large, the American system really holds up under the stresses. And it's proven to be a really good system because we don't create politics at the exclusion of others. You have a vote, you vote, and your vote is counted. And if you're in Congress or if you're in the Senate, you represent the people of your district and you get your vote, you get your influence, and it's not exercised at the exclusion of someone else. And if you look at the protests in Charlottesville, you look at the nationalist parties, the white nationalist parties, or the KKK, or the neo-Nazis, they would exactly do to us what is happening in a country like Iraq. They would stratify the political system so that those in power would exercise that power at the exclusion of others. You know, I'm pretty sure that a white nationalist or a neo-Nazi has very little interest in sharing the political process with some guy from Bangladesh or some guy from Venezuela. I'm pretty sure that they would apply the political process in a very uneven way. And that is exactly the antithesis to what we have here today. And it would drag this nation down. So in addition to everything else that has been rightly said about these movements, this is one other danger that they pose to this democracy. And I'm pretty sure that's just not where we want to go as a people. And so I just wanted to get that out there to get us thinking about the dangers of stratifying the political process. It entails risks that we really haven't thought of here in America since perhaps the Jim Crow days. And we don't want to go back there. I really appreciate you listening to this video. Have a great day.